In this video, I'll show you how to set up your calendar for cold email and also how to automate your follow-up so that people actually show up to the call. The one goal in setting up your calendar is to improve your show rate because that improves how many people flow through your system. And the more people that show up to a call with you, the higher the percentage that you can close. So you want to make sure you maximize this number as much as possible. Now we're going to use the same software that we used in the last video, and you don't have to pay anything additional. And to just give you a sense of what I mean, by the way, for those of you who are watching this video for the first time, we're going through the entire lead gen engine setup. And so right now we are on the step where we set up our calendar and follow-up automations. If you want to see the steps before this where we actually set up our Go High Level account, then watch the previous videos. But for now, in order to actually set up your calendar, there's a few steps that you have to take. Again, just to give you a sense, this is the pricing on Calendly. You'd have to pay this per user, whereas Go High Level allows you for the same fee that you're paying for hosting and everything in one software to have unlimited calendars and unlimited seats. How do we actually set this up? Go over to Go High Level and make sure you're in the sub account that we created. So for this example business, it's Never Record. And then what we're going to have to first do is actually add a staff, because if you don't have a staff, you can't actually assign the calendar to anybody. So go ahead and go to My Staff and click Add Employee. Now, a quick thing to note is that you won't be able to add the email that you used on the agency level. And the reason for that is because agency level has one login, sub account has a different login. If you use the same email for both, this system is going to have an error. So let me just show you what I mean. If you see, if I go to create that, it gives me an error. So typically what I recommend for this one is link the email that you actually use to manage your calendar. So if you are a business owner and you have an email already that you use to manage your calendar, then actually add that one as a user, because then you can import your calendar and have that show up on your calendar. And I'll show you how to do that as well in this video. I've already added this user. So for the sake of our example here, I already have a user. So I'm not going to add that step. But for you, it's just simple add employee, type in this information and click save. Now, once that's done, you want to go back over to calendars and then click on calendar settings here. Now, when you do that, you're going to click on create a calendar. And really, most of these will be one-on-one meetings, so I use personal booking. Now, if you want to get more advanced later on, we can discuss the other options. But for now, most of you are going to do one-on-one outreach. This one, I usually just call it a prospect call. Now you can assign it to that team member that you added. Here, you just add a link. So this is basically what the link will say. So when you send this link to people, this is what it'll say at the end. So, you can add prospect never record or call dash never record. Never Record is the name of the company that we determined. And this is the same thing that you can set up a calendar. What do you want? Hours, times, whatever. If you've ever set up a calendar before, you know that that's pretty much standard. I just want to go through a few more details with you guys because I think there's personalization that you can add. Number one, I normally add my company logo just for branding. And then Go High Level has this feature where you can look busy. If you listen to Hermosi, he says the number one thing for booking calls is availability. He would recommend you turn this off and not have it. Some people like it because, for example, if you're a new business, and new businesses like it really. Your new business, you don't want to look like you don't have any clients. You want to hide some of your availability. Personally, I don't think you need it, but it depends on how much trust you have in the marketplace. The last thing I want to show you here is around follow-up. So let's just make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, around follow-up. So here in the notification and additional options, they're going to send an email once the appointment is confirmed, basically telling the prospect like, hey, this is your calendar link. You can reschedule or cancel or whatever. They send that out automatically. But the one that you care about is the reminder. Now, this reminder, if you enable it, essentially you can send it out at any point. And so what you want to do, I typically like it to be sent out on the same day that people are showing up. So if you want to do that reasonably 6 hours before the meeting. The worst case scenario, for example, on this is that somebody gets an email, say for a 9 a.m. meeting, they get an email at like 3 a.m. In that situation, you want to do like maybe 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours. But for me, I take most of my calls later in the day. So I put 6 hours. That way, when somebody gets up in the morning and they're about planning their day and they look at their inbox, they have an email from me saying, I'm looking forward to your call. And they're remembering, okay, yes, I have that to do today. Instead of what normally happens, you remind them 10 minutes before the call and they're like, what is this again? Worse yet, they don't even see it. Now, this is their normal subject line, upcoming appointment. I think that there is more you can do here. So for example, there's two places in which I would edit. In your confirmation email, so that's the one, that's not this one, but the one over here where it says confirmed. Click here, enable. You should absolutely send them homework to do. And this homework, if you're looking at my little sequence here, this homework should pre-frame them to handle their primary objections. Typically, we make a YouTube video, and that YouTube video, we synthesize it based on calls that you get on with people and you realize, okay, this person struggles with making a decision because of this reason. Maybe they have some limiting belief in that area. Let me make a video on it. And the key here when you're doing this pre-framing content is not to be preachy. Nobody likes to be preached at. What you want to do is tell stories. In those stories, have a hero and have a villain, and have them identify with the traits of a villain and see that as bad, and have them want to become the hero and see that as good. So an example is if somebody's not making a decision because they have too many options, right? Or they're not sure it'll work. They're scared. They have a limiting belief that what if it doesn't work out? What if you're a scammer and you disappear with my money? All these fears that go into their head that paralyze them from making a decision. You might actually want to create pre-framing content around that first, instead of trying to like sell them on your results and sell them on your system and your process. So the way in which you do that is that you might actually have to remind them that they have this pattern in their life where they make those kinds of decisions, and how that's resulted for them over the years, and how that has kept them stuck and not solving the core problem in their business for a really long time, and how now they have an opportunity to change, and they have an opportunity to become the type of person that will actually be successful with the system. So you're like priming them to get on the call ready to make a decision. Again, this is not easy, but if you do it well and you follow the sequence and do the automation, absolutely you will see a higher show rate. The other thing that I do, and I would recommend you doing, in this follow-up email, you know what it says? It says your appointment is scheduled. Here are some details. I don't like to do that. What I would say is like, hi, John, or whatever the person's name is, and I edit this. I am looking forward to our call today. Did some research, and there's a few things I found that will help you with, you insert their current problem. So if you know your customer, you know what their problem is, right? And then you're like, excited to share more with you. Here's the details for the call today. That's it. Because what I'm doing in this sentence is letting them know like, hey, John, like I'm investing time in helping you solve your problem here. Like I did work. Don't not show up to this call. Because if you do not show up to the call, you're basically making me work unnecessarily and waste my time. Now, I'm not telling John, don't waste my time. What I'm helping him see is like, oh man, this person, they actually did a lot of work for me. Like, I feel bad like if I waste their time. And that's what you want to trigger in them. You're not trying to trigger like, hey John, don't waste my time. I'm so important. That's not what you're trying to do. What you're trying to accomplish is to let them know, hey John, I did a lot of work for you. I want the chance to present it to you. And usually if people are reasonable, most people are, they're like, man, this person put a lot of work into this. I don't want to not show up to the call because I know they've been working hard behind the scenes. And usually a reasonable person would be like, yeah, let me show up to the call. Let me at least hear them out. And that's what you're looking for. And if you apply these two strategies, in my opinion, this is how you get your calendar set up and a higher show rate. You are going to need one more step. Once you set this up and you click save and everything, the other thing that I do is I name it very intentionally. If you go back up here to meeting details, typically how they would name this call in the calendar, it will show up as the context name. Now, if I'm on my calendar is just a random meeting with my name on it. I don't even remember why I booked this call, who this call is about, what it's for. So you want to change this. And so what you want to do is put your name. So for example, I'll put my name and you put their name. They're like looking at this and they're like, I'm definitely meeting with this person because you see the two names. But then they're like, well, what am I meeting with him about? And that's where I like to add the intent of the meeting here. So like install automated shorts system. Okay, now that you've set up your calendar, what we want to do is test it so that not only do you want to see this show up on your Go High Level calendar, I'm guessing you also want to see it show up on, say, your Google Calendar, right? So this is the inbox that we just created. How do we get that when a prospect books a lead through our call link, that it actually shows up on our regular calendar? Because I highly doubt most of you are just checking this all day. So let's go through the process and show you how it would be done. The first thing is, obviously, you're going to need to get the link to have prospects book a call with you. So if you go over to calendars and then calendar settings, under calendar settings, you have all the little calendars that you've created. So for the one that that we just created, which was prospect call, you're going to just click here, share. And I typically take this link because no matter if I rename the widget link, this one will never change. So sometimes I embed this on a website and then I might change the name of the link and I don't want to have to go and update the website. So I always take the permanent link. So let's go book a call as a test and show you what happens after you do that. It's not going to automatically show up on your calendar. There's some steps you need to do. So let's go ahead and book this call for 4:30, select, test, okay? And then schedule a meeting. Now what this is going to do, if you go back to Go High Level, we should now see that meeting in our calendar. So let's go back here. And as you can see, the meeting is here at 4:30. But the problem is the meeting doesn't show up here on Google Calendar. So how do you get that to happen? Remember how we linked our calendar through integrations? Well, there's an important step that if you didn't do, it's not going to work correctly. So if you go back to integrations, let's click here. Remember, we linked our account, but you also need to now select that account, right? Now, if you don't have this little drop down, it's because you don't have a Google Business Profile account. So you'll have to go over to Google and create a Google Business Profile, enter your information, your text, your phone number. They're going to text you a verification code. It's pretty simple. You can skip all the like descriptions and everything. And really you just needed to create the account. Once you do that, you come back here and you can click here to disconnect and then you can relink it. So when I relink this, see here, I'll show you there's a drop down where it'll ask you to select the business, which didn't show up the first time, by the way, because I hadn't created that Google Business Profile. So now you see it's going to ask you which business do you want to link to this location? And then we're going to click the never record business that we're creating, but connect, wait to gain voice merchant to business under review. I just created it, so it's under review, right? So in this situation, we're just going to go and see if we can connect it this way. Yeah. And then click. Perfect, like that. This is the moment of truth here. We should be able to go over to My Staff now and click on Edit and go to Calendar Configuration. Ultimately, when that's approved, you will see a link here to then enable your calendar. And that setting, which is not available yet, and it might take some time for this account to get approved. So this is what it looks like in my actual account here. So I've been able to not only link my main calendar, actually create something called conflict calendar. So I have other personal emails, which if I book things on those emails, I don't want it to show up as available on my calendar. That way, both Go High Level calendars are flowing into my calendar, my external personal calendars are flowing into the calendar, anything I book on the company calendar are flowing into one Google Calendar. And so that's really how I manage things. Hopefully that's helpful. If you get stuck anywhere along the way, just put a comment below and I'll try to be as helpful as I possibly can. All right, so we're almost to the end of our checklist. And in the next video, what we're going to do is show you how to write cold email sequences that don't end up in the spam folder. See you in the next video.